What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. In today's episode, we're going to be talking all about hand pollination. We're going to talk about why you should do it, how you do it, and what happens if you don't do it. We're also going to talk about blossom end rot, because that's the biggest reason why you want to hand pollinate. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to touch on blossom end rot, because we do get a lot of people that message us and they say, Luke, I've got some beautiful plants, they're producing lots of flowers, lots of fruit, but the flowers fall off and then so does the fruit. It turns all nasty and brown at the top and then it just kind of shrivels and falls off the plant. What's going on? Is it a nutrient deficiency? Am I doing something wrong? Is it something that I can prevent? Is this natural? Help me. And so that's what we're going to do in today's video is I'm going to help you. But first I want to identify blossom end rot, because if you don't even know how to identify it, it's very difficult to be able to fix the problem. So let's talk about blossom end rot first. So on any plant, you have a male and a female flower. A male flower can be seen by a long flower stem and a flower up top. This is a male flower. These are from our squash plants behind us, our zucchini plants. And so this is a male flower. It has a very long stem and a flower up top. There is no little fruit underneath. But on a female flower, you have a stem, a little baby fruit, and then a flower. And the issue is that you need a cross. You need a cross between the pollen on the male flower and the female flower in order for there to be proper fertilization. And so if that does not happen, the fruit turns kind of brown and shrivels up and falls off the plant. And so that is blossom end rot. It's very easy to identify, but there's a few reasons that causes it. The first one is too high of temperatures. If you have too high of temperatures, say above 95 degrees, the pollen can actually be rendered sterile. It kills it off. And that prevents there to be proper fruit set, because you might have a good amount of pollinators. Heck, you might even be hand pollinating and you still have blossom end rot. That can be caused from too high of temperatures. It can also be caused from too much moisture. If it's really humid and it's raining a lot, pollen has a ton of surface area and it can actually mold. And so if you have pollen that molds, you're not going to have good fruit set either. It can also be caused from a calcium deficiency. If you don't have enough calcium in the soil, even if you do get good fruit set, good pollination, they can still have that kind of brown spot. You see that a lot with tomatoes. We talk all the time about blossom end rot on tomatoes. So it can be a calcium deficiency as well. But more often than not, it's a pollination issue. Usually all those other external factors, there are about a 5% chance of those things actually being an issue. The biggest issue, I would say affecting probably about 75% of blossom end rot cases, is pollination, or I guess a lack thereof. If you have a case where you're indoors or in a greenhouse, or maybe you're just outside and you don't have a whole lot of pollinators around. Let's say you're in a city and there's not a lot of pollinators in the city. Or let's say you're out in the country and there's just tons of monoculture crops, just acres and acres of corn where there's not a lot of pollinators to pollinate those crops. You might have kind of a little oasis that the pollinators just can't get to. Or maybe you're just in an area where there just aren't a lot of pollinators in general. I don't really know the reason, but usually it's caused from a lack of pollination. And what you can do is you can hand pollinate. This allows us to still have very productive crops by basically playing the role of pollinators. You don't have to necessarily leave it up to nature, because when you do, sometimes, if nature's not there to help you pollinate, you could let them grow all day long, all year long, and you have a very little chance of getting fruit set. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to hand pollinate. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find a male flower. As we talked about, a male flower can be identified by a very long flower stem with no fruit on the bottom. This is a male flower. The next thing we want to do is we want to cut off these petals here, because they don't do anything for us when it comes to hand pollinating. When it comes to attracting insects, this is kind of like a universal sign, like, hey, there's a flower here, it's a landing pad. Now this is edible. You can actually eat this. It's very delicious. I'd recommend not throwing it out. So we're going to put that in a salad later. But you have a male flower, and you've taken off all the petals. And so now you're ready to hand pollinate. What we need to do is we need to actually find a female flower next. And so I have lots of female flowers in here. Some are not ready to open just yet. So what we need to do is we need to find ones that are just starting to open. You see, we have one right here just getting ready to open, but not quite ready yet. I do have one just across the way, just right next door, that is opening up. So I'm going to pan you over so we can actually get this one set, because if they're not open yet, the female flower components are not yet fully formed. And so you don't want to come in here and like pull these flower petals open, because the flower is not mature yet. It's not ready to accept the pollen from the male flower, because it's just not mature enough yet. All right, so this plant right here actually has a female flower, and it is ready to accept the pollen because the flower itself is actually starting to open. You can see here it's nice and orange, it's not green. That means it's a nice mature flower. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna open this up. We're gonna open it up and reveal the inner components of the female flower. You'll see here it actually looks kind of like little fingers, just kind of open. This looks like, we're trying to make this child friendly here. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments box below. You guys always do, and it's very humorous. But this right here is, and YouTube, don't age restrict this video, please. So this is just like a stem, and the female component is more like fingers, like this. And so what we need to do is we need to take this and we need to insert it. There's really no other way to put it. This is biology, folks. This is how it works. Go to a zoo sometime. You'll see lots of biology happening. So you have the female. All right. Yeah. So, anyways, you have the. Oh, why is this so funny? So anyways, you have the female component, and it looks like kind of like fingers here, and it has the ability to accept this male portion. And all we're going to do is we're simply going to take it and we're going to stick it into that little opening in between those kind of fingers there. Okay, so we have the female portion of the flower here. As you can see, kind of those little fingers. And all we need to do is we need to take this male portion, and we just need to insert it into those little female portion. We just need to kind of twirl this around, make good contact, and really ensure that pollen gets rubbed off. So as you can see here, as you can see by the flower, there's quite a lot of pollen that's been rubbed off. And that way, this is really going to set fruit very well. As you can tell, it's got a good amount of fruit at the bottom. And so this one right here is going to be set for sure. So there you go. It is that simple to hand pollinate your crops. It is really that simple. You know, all laughing aside, I know we had some fun, I know we had some giggles, but all laughing aside, this is a really serious thing because it's made a huge difference in my garden. And so if you want to make a huge difference in your garden, I recommend trying this method. It has really helped improve our yields. It's helped reduce our losses. And it's, like I said, it's just an all-around super simple, super fast method. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. We'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.